Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Higher Ground podcast. With me today, I have Dr. Saheer, who is joining us. He's the CEO of PayWINT, a payments technology company that in his personal life has changed from the medical profession into the software space, financial software. And rather than me try to explain your background, why don't you take us through who you are and a bit of your journey as we introduce yourself to our guests.
Sure, Tom. Thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. I'm really excited. And myself, I'm Dr. Saheer. Basically, I'm a physician. I did my medical education back in 2010. I always was telling my blood is built out of technology. So I had the feeling I should turn around and I should change my career. I should change my life back into my passion. Then, after being a physician, after being a clinician for a few years, then I thought I should stop it. I mean, that's not for me. So I have to be in the technology space. Then I built something in the technology, but I was not happy because that was not really solving the real life problem of people. Then I went to my family because my family had a couple of retail business. And then I see they always having the problem of financial struggle, like not in but coming to their payment collection, holding the funds or disbursement, it's always being fragmented and it always was slow, especially when it comes to international transactions. So that was the real problem in between small medium business people. So I thought to solve that one, then that is how I built PayWINT. PayWINT is really solving the real life problem of small, medium businesses, not just in US, United States, but globally. Yeah.
Understood. It must have been quite a shift for you and your family. You don't just become a doctor overnight. So to go from something you had invested a lot of time and to get your medical license and go through all those processes and then shift, could you tell us a little bit about your thought process to make that shift? I understand the passion behind you wanted to make the change, but that must have been a very difficult decision.
That's right. You say that's exactly right. Because, medicine, it gave me the capability to solve a root problem of patients, especially it's a human being. When it's a human being, I get the training to diagnose in a multi-dimensional way. Because especially, sometimes patients come with totally irrelevant symptoms and signs. Then you have to diagnose the patient and you have to prescribe the medicine. So that's a logic. You get the training for logical thinking. So now I'm applying the same capability in financial space.
So the skill that you took, I'm sure many, but one of the major ones sounds like it's the diagnostic ability and the ability to looking at a problem, looking at a situation and then triaging it.
Correct.
Okay, so now let's get to know each other a little better and introduce you to our audience through some this or that questions. They're easy, none too hard. I know you were just in New York City, so maybe I ask a New York-centric one. Which do you prefer, a yellow cab or Uber?
Oh, Uber.
Uber. I wish it was different, but everyone seems to answer the same way. I want to give the cabbies the support, but Uber is just so convenient and clean.
But, it's more safe and the price and it's more convenient. They come to you whenever you need it. And it's a technology, it's a technology. It's not just a cab,
a ride,
but it's a technology.
Yeah. No, I agree. Right. I think that makes sense. Now, do you prefer dogs or cats? Do you have any preference, one or the other?
Maybe not both. I love birds, actually, parrots and birds.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Maybe I like small animals, maybe.
Yeah, a little easier to maintain. I know both dogs and cats have their own pros and cons. It's one of those, it's an interesting answer. Nobody's answered that one yet. I appreciate you because often it's very polarizing question. I'm a dog person. I'm a cat person. Right. You're the first bird person, so welcome. Thank you.
I'm the first bird person. Yeah, you're right.
Love it. That's excellent. Do you like coffee or tea?
Coffee. I'm a coffee addict. I should say I'm addicted. Yeah.
too. And I'm not ashamed at all. I love my coffee. Yeah. Now, do
I
you
mean, it's
tend
like,
to?
you should have some addiction in your life, but it should be healthy addiction.
I
So
think
I
caffeine is a
don't drink,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, I don't drink any alcohol. So
Oh,
coffee is the only addiction I have in my life.
excellent. Do you prefer books when you're thinking of entertainment? Are you a book person or a movie person?
Maybe 50-50, both.
50-50. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a common answer. Most people tend to want to be entertained, but then there's the exploration in your own mind that you get from a book, which I always enjoy. Excellent. Now, when we're thinking about meeting people for work, and whether it's candidates or conducting meetings and whatnot, do you prefer in person or do you prefer like the video conferencing?
I prefer more in person.
Okay.
Because communication is not just the verbal, but it's more actions, the way you react, your expressions. So in person, you get the more, you get the feelings more.
Yes, for sure. That interaction. Yeah, I think what COVID gave us is a strange gift of making it just so easy to have video
Exactly.
conferencing and working from home. That's a positive sign. But every single person I've ever talked to comes up with the same answer. I will almost always take the in-person over the video chat.
Yeah.
It's an amazingly powerful technology and extremely useful, but it does come with the depersonalization, if you would. So I'm with you as
Mhm.
our most of our guests. So that's great.
Maybe it's because we all are tired of virtual meetings every day. Maybe every
I
day
think so.
I'm having like a minimum 1 or 2, 3 meetings, virtual meetings every day. So maybe we all are tired of that, right?
Yeah, I know from some of my interpersonal relationships, more people there's a mix of introverts and extroverts. And I know extroverts talking and meeting and get energy from the interaction. Whereas my introverted friends are like, okay, that's enough people for one day. I'm going to take a break. Okay, so if you can help me and our guests understand a bit more about PayWINT, let's start maybe by telling us a little bit about the name.
Sure. PayWINT come from 2 words actually. One is pay and second is win. So when I was about to brand the name for the startup when we were in the early stage, I was thinking a lot of names and I get a lot of feedback from a lot of people, a lot of my friends, those who in my network and all. Then finally I came up with mixing 2 words, which is one is pay and second is win, because every payment is a win-win, because one is a seller, one is a buyer. So seller get the money and buyer get the product or service. So both party win when a transaction happens. So that's why I merge pay and win. Then when I put pay win, it sounds something is missing. Then I thought it should match the sound. It sound like a payment. Then I
Right.
made it like a pay win. I put a T at the end and I made it like a pay win.
I like
So
that.
that's
I
the
like that very
secret
much.
behind pay win.
That's good. No, that's good. Every you need a good backstory, so that's excellent. Now, the payment space is a bit crowded. There's a lot of people like PayPal and others in this space. How does PayWINT differentiate themselves from the competition?
You're right. That's very right, because fintech or payment technology is an ocean. A lot of big fishes swimming in the ocean, and we also when we are in the ocean, we have to swim. We have to survive, right? So we made it in such a way. PayWind is a all-in-one solution. We have everything in PayWind. Like for example, you wanna collect a payment from Dubai, let's say, and the payer say he wanna pay through crypto. Just for example, we can do that. We can collect from crypto and we can settle in a fiat rail in US. Or let's say somebody wanna initiate a payment from New York and the recipient say he's in Brazil and he wanna get paid through Brazilian local payment rail. It's called PIX. We can settle in that way. Or let's say someone in Europe, he say he wanna get paid in SEPA rail. We can do that. So we made it such a way, unique and all-in-one solution. So that's how we differentiate.
And the intention being settling in local currency, but also the targeting the global base.
Correct.
Right. So I know, for example, Venmo is very popular in the US for peer-to-peer payments, but it's only in the US. And this way you can do international transfers. Now, one of the challenges that I've heard from my international friends is the high cost and time it takes to send money. For every dollar you send overseas, your recipient only gets some less than $1 percentage, right? 60, 70% given all the hands in the pocket. Is that another differentiator for PayWINT?
That's right. That's what one of the main thing we are trying to solve. Because right now, or maybe until last year, payment was really very much fragmented, and it was really slow, and it was very expensive. But now we are trying to make it more like a real-time money movement, and we are trying to give it at a competitive rate. I mean, the conversion rate, and coming to remittance, international remittance, we are trying to give maximum forex conversion rate, and transaction fee also we are trying to put it at the lowest range. We do negotiation with the partner banks, so that is what we are in the space.
Understood. No, it's such a big shift, right? I'm to me, moving out of such a field that requires so much knowledge and preparation to go from medicine into technology. That must have been very transformational, deep passion inside you to make that change. Can you tell us a little bit about the driving force in you that led you to make this change? And then the potential downside, the upside, I think we can guess, but the downside risk must have been something you had to weigh.
Sure. Just like you say, when I complete my medical education, then I get my license, and I started practicing as a physician. After a couple of years, I felt like this is not for me, because my blood is built out of technology, and my brain, my every internal organs was telling me, like, you have to shift your career, you have to get back to your technology field. And that's the one reason I stopped practicing as a physician, and I took my MPA in Master in Business Administration. Then I started my entrepreneurship, and I started my early stage startups. But, to be honest, since I had that medical training, which is really complex and complicated, especially when you are handling with the real humans, it's not a dead animal, it's a real live human, and you get logical thinking skill, especially they present with the multiple symptoms, irrelevant signs and problems, then you should have the ability, capacity to diagnose it from mostly out of different scenarios. So coming to fintech, I'm applying all this skill and capacities and capabilities, because small medium business people, they face a lot of problems, just like humans facing trouble, illness, diseases and all. Small business, medium business people, their problems are like the same way, they present with a lot of multiple issues. So I get the training to analyze it and find a diagnosis for that. Then that's how I build real life problem solving.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Humans are extremely messy, and we have all, like you said, we get all these different signals from all these different places. I wonder if you could tell us, what were some of the most complicated challenges now that you've made the shift into software? What were some of those early on very complicated challenges that you needed to solve out of the gate?
I should say convincing my people. That was one of the biggest challenge. There is a say which says, once you are a doctor, you are a doctor forever. So coming out of that profession was one of the biggest challenge I had, because I have to convince my family, my friends, my colleagues, my teachers, my professors, everybody. I mean, because when I was in my school, my medical school, I was kind of academically, I was okay. I mean, something not like highly talented, but I was something above average. So my professors, my teachers, they don't want me to come out of a medical profession. So it took a lot of time to convince them. Then I took my MPA, my business training. Then only I started my first venture, my startup. But that was a fail. And because that was not really solving the problem, because I didn't know where to start, how to start. Then went back to my family business. Then I see their real life problem in financial management, especially payment collection, holding, in disbursement, which was really slow. Even today, it's too slow, especially coming to international remittance and payments, money collection from global space. It is really slow. So that is what we are really solving. We are solving the process, we are solving the speed, we are solving the associated cost. So it's like a real life problem solving. Yeah.
So you're tackling the human challenge. You're applying what you learned in solving the complicated problems for working with humans on a technology problem that has a lot of moving parts. Sounds like.
Correct. Because, being a doctor, I get the training to solve real human problem, especially when they present with the multiple problems, like a multiple symptoms and signs. Then you should be able to consolidate it and diagnose the real exact cause. I mean, real exact disease behind it. So being a doctor, I get the capacity and capability to identify the problem and finding the solution. So I apply the same technique in the financial technology. When I listen to small, medium business people, I always carefully listen their problem, exact problem they're facing. So it will be like a fragmented problem. They will present you a lot of things, that this thing. So I get the logical analysis capacity to consolidate it and give the solution. So that is one advantage I get being a doctor.
One of the things you mentioned that you said you're again, where I'm fascinated by the shift, right? Moving from medicine into technology. I've always been in technology in my life, right? So I've touched on medicine on the sides, but it's always been through other venues as clients and whatnot. I've never my core has always been technology. But I'm fascinated by a couple of things you said. First of all, this bold move, which, again, came from within this passion within you. But then you mentioned that your first try was not successful. And I hear from a lot of founders that that's a very common pattern, that I made a shift, we tried something and it didn't work, so then we tried something else. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure, because that time right after my MBA, I was in my young age, right? So I have to do something. I had the feeling I want to be a businessman. I want to do something. Then, I was in an aggressive mode to build something. So in that time, I didn't learn. I didn't listen to anybody. I didn't check what is their problem, or I didn't know what should I solve. So that is what I built something, a business tool, but nobody used it because that was not really solving anybody's problem. Then, I read about Uber story. I read about Airbnb story. I read about all the success people story. So they all were solving at least one problem of one human being.
I see.
Then they scale it up from there. So yeah.
And the idea was one of, I think what you're hitting on with PayWINT is that you're solving the specific problem of making it easier to make global payments smooth and lower cost.
Correct. We have a 3 mission. One is making the process easier. It should be all in one space. Second one, making it a more real-time payment, like the speed. And third one, the associated cost, reducing it. So these 3 are our mission.
Now, one thing I'll say is, if you make a mistake in financial services, there's a reputational cost. There might be penalties, there might be fines, but it's monetary. When you make a mistake in medicine, it could be the risk is much, much higher, right? Do you sleep better at night knowing that it's different, or is it a different kind of way you're modeling this in your?
I tell you one thing, healthcare and finance are the 2 most important industry which having a lot of compliance problem. Compliance and regulations. So just like I said before, I'm academically trained in healthcare compliance and regulations. So I always feel that I have the skill to assess the regulations and compliance and risk and everything associated in finance also. because finance also is really regulated. A lot of fraud may happen. Its risk is high. So now, we are integrating a lot of AI tools which can assess the associated risk, and we are implementing. We do proper KYC, KYB, AML monitoring, transaction monitoring. It's called KYC. So it's a know your transaction. You have to keep watching every transaction because
Interesting.
once
I've heard of KYC, know your customer, know your business, but KYT, know your transactions. I'm not aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a finance. You have to watch each and every transaction. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. So we do everything properly, and that is what we are in the space now.
And one of the reasons there are not a lot of entrants into new spaces like this is largely due to the fact that there's a high cost, not just from a technology perspective, but also this regulatory space. Are there any particular tools or partners or techniques that you're using to manage that cost or resourcing, et cetera? It can crush a company in terms of just the compliance costs. So I'm wondering how you manage that.
Yeah, it's not only about the cost, but it's about the knowledge. You should know what to do and what not to do. So, there are a lot of tools available, but again, you should know which tool you have to use for this purpose, especially when it comes to, especially when you are in the global space, and you should have the capability to vet every business globally, not just in United States, but you need to have multiple collaborations, multiple partnerships in the worldwide, and it's all about knowledge. And of course, it's expensive too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure from the lens, from the cost lens, it can be a lot. Oh, can you just give us a sense of the size of your business, like number of transactions, employees? Like, just give us a demographic of your folks, your team, your revenues, the business, or whatever you're comfortable disclosing.
Yeah, we are a team of 30 plus people now. We are expanding every day. We are keep on hiring. We need more people to expand into more space. And transaction wise, we do very good volume now. I have to check exact volume because it's keep growing every day. So
that's a good problem.
Yeah. But in the domestic space, we are doing very good. In the international space, we are still in the early stage, but it's coming up. It's ramping up.
No, understood. And I'm happy to hear that, because it's an important business you're in the sense of making it easier for transactions to flow, across borders in particular, but also, in a way that's considered, that is safe, not just considered, but actually is safe. Where do you typically find your best talent? How do you pursue them? What channels do you use and mechanisms?
Yeah, finding best talent is also, being a founder, that's also your headache, because I always keep a 80-20 principle. That means when you hire 10 people, 10 candidates, 80% of them will be they will be floating type. They will be floating, and only 20% will stick with you. So this 20, it's called a Pareto principle, 80-20 principle. So I always say 20% of the staffs are feeding the rest 80%. So we get good talents from our network, from our connections, and we depend on HR platforms. And we do have a good HR department. They keep on vetting every members, just like we do on the transactions. We do employee monitoring also. We monitor, keep on, because especially when we are in the finance industry, we have to vet every employee. There should be zero chance of any associated risk.
My first reaction was monitoring the employees. That doesn't sound very, that's an intrusion of privacy. What do you mean? My immediate reaction was, wait a minute. But then what you're saying completely makes sense. It's just like when you call the doctor's office, you don't expect someone to read your chart for fun, right? That you just similarly with financial services, you want to make sure that any of the transactions are, they're safe and people are not going to dip into the money. Essentially.
Correct. We have to keep on monitoring, because monitoring not in the sense of their privacy, but into their professionalism. Because, there should be zero chance of any data leakage, or zero chance of development leakage, like any programming problem or development problem, because one mistake will cost you millions of dollars.
Oh, it could. Sure.
So we keep monitoring every employees in that sense.
And is the employees that your team, are you doing your software development in-house? Are you building custom applications, or are you stitching together? Is your work more of integrating pre-built packages, or is it a bit of more custom development, custom coding?
It's a totally custom coding. We build exactly as per every business's need. So we have our own development team. We have our own team, and they are very talented in fintech. So it's totally customizable way.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I like that. You're owning the stack, right? Because that way you're in control. Some would argue the integration cost, right, of stitching together 3 different products or different products in different markets is less than building from scratch. But given how quickly we can build software today, and with AI assisted code generation, or a lot of the testing and diagnostics and the like, enable us to build from scratch more quickly. Do you agree with my analysis?
It's all, just like I say again, it's all about knowledge. Once you have the exact clear knowledge, and if you have a flow chart, what you have to build, and you need to have a good team with you, then it's all easy. You have the problem, then you should know what solution you have to make, then you make the flow chart, then you have the good team with you, then it's all easy. Again, it's all expensive too, and you need a good backup money.
Yes. And so on that topic, are you largely self-funded? Did you go to the public markets for capital, or what is the sourcing of the founder, your
Yeah,
my words just fell apart there. Where's your capital coming from?
It's 100% bootstrapped by me. It's my blood and sweat.
I see.
Because I'm holding, I want to raise the fund, but I'm holding it until I make the valuation a little more higher.
Understood.
Yeah.
Jumping back to candidates and just jumping back to thinking about employees and managers in the team, what are some of the characteristics you look for in a good manager?
I should say number 1 is always honesty. And second one, I always tell my team, second one is ownership. You have to take the ownership of what you are building or what you are responsible for. You are ownership, not in the sense you just make it and go. No. If you build something, you should keep watching. Doesn't matter it's day or night. Doesn't matter it's you are on a payroll time or not. But if you have the ownership feeling, you will keep monitoring it. Doesn't matter you are on a vacation. Doesn't matter you are in San Francisco, or doesn't matter you are in Dubai. You will be monitoring. So second thing is ownership. That is very crucial. But again, first is honesty. Without honesty, there is no use if you work hard or if you have ownership. And third one is hard work. You should work hard. You should not be lazy. If there is something you have to do it today, not tomorrow. So these 3 things I always
the key.
I always tell to my team, these are the key.
Now, one of the ingredients in motivating employees is incentives. How do you find those? You're raising, what I'm hearing you say is you've got a very high bar for your managers and for your employees. You want to make sure people are doing their best, working hard, dedicated to the team, the company. How do you incent them? How do you motivate them? How do you drive them to that excellence?
We are still building such motivation things, but most of the time a good word or a good appreciation is good enough for them, because you work hard, you build something for the company, and your boss says something good, or your boss appreciate you in front of everybody. That's good enough for him. So that is, ultimately, it's all about respect, right? So if you work hard, you should get the respect. But at the same time, I'm not scared to fire anybody if they don't work, because we are building something from the scratch, and we are working 24/7 to build it out of nothing. So if someone is lazy in my team, I don't have, what should I say? I don't worry to
Tolerance.
fire them. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
tolerate it. But at the same time, I'm not shy to appreciate them in front of everybody if they work hard.
Understood. And how do you go about letting your team, your employees know that they're not necessarily at the level? Right? You want them to operate at a certain level of dedication and passion and performance. How do you engage them how do you help your managers or your team say, have that conversation they're not necessarily performing at the levels expected?
Most of the time, I talk to everybody directly. I don't keep any bridge or wall in between. So most of the time, I talk to them. I give them chance because I always say one mistake is acceptable. One mistake, one time is acceptable. But the same mistake, second time is not at all acceptable. So I give them every mistake they make, I give them chances. I don't shout them or I don't blame them. But if they repeat it or if they are lazy to correct or if they are not ready to improve, then I will have my HR team, they will take care of it. I don't really get into that then because I know that is waste of my time. I don't have to.
Where should you as CEO put, if it's not personnel management at the detail level, which I fully understand, what do you see as your primary 2, 3, 4 things that you should be doing in terms of your prioritization? I know there are, in the audience, there are aspiring CEOs who are trying to figure out, where do I put my time? And time is the only resource we cannot get any more of. So how do you allocate your time?
First thing, I always do delegation because, I want to decentralize everything. Because in the early stage everything was on my head. I was wearing multiple type of hats, sometimes yellow hat, sometimes green hat, sometimes black hat. So now I want to take my hats out of my head and delegate it to some people in my team. So finding out who is fit for each hat is one of the biggest challenge, but that is what I spend most of the time. Delegation, so that I can be free out of that task, so I can focus more on the business side, next level growth, integration. And
that makes sense. Where do you see your next level growth coming from? Like as you're starting to see that ramp, that hyperbolic curve we all want to see in the future, where do you see that coming from? Markets or countries, or where do you see that coming from?
Yeah, more countries, more coverage, more global reach, and more customer awareness, because customers have to know the brand. Especially, when I was in the early stage, when I went to one airport, I think it was in Qatar, in Doha airport, I see one big board of a technology company in the airport. Then I was thinking, like, why they put a big hoarding here? Because most of the traffic they have, it's not relevant for them. Nobody gonna use it. But then when I start my company, I came to know it's called awareness branding, because everybody read the brand, then the brand name gets stuck in their brain. Even if they don't use it, they get the feeling of the branding. So that is what I need to do in next level growth. My brand have to be in everybody's brain, even if they don't use it.
To be aware, like you said, the brand awareness, to be aware so that it's out there, they can think, oh, wait, you know what? It's not just this one company, it's this other kind, it's PayWINT. And interesting. And on that approach, how do you distinguish between what you would consider, let's say you invested in that big sign and you realize, okay, this didn't pay off. This wasn't necessarily the right return, and consider it a temporary setback or a particular market failed. How do you differentiate between a temporary setback and something that's more material, where a strategy might need to actually change?
Strategy, customer acquisition is the in the marketing side, customer acquisition is the biggest strategy. I always dream about being, I always dream about competing with the Stripe and PayPal directly one day. So that is my vision and my ambition. I want to be next, better than Stripe or PayPal.
That's a very high bar.
Dream that level. That is my wish. Yeah.
Swing for the fences, and worst case you get a double or a triple, right?
It's not by tomorrow, but I know it will take time, but I'm targeting it.
I definitely appreciate the ambition there. One of the things I've personally seen in my background is sometimes the best product doesn't always win. We may have the best solution, we may have the best product, but there are externalities, the external factors that, that play in, like maybe awareness or maybe brand or marketing and whatnot. How do you think about that problem, and then how do you try to resolve it?
Yeah, because every product should be market fit. One of the main reason most of the startups, because most of the startups in the world, they are failed. Only few survive. And the reason is they are not market fit. They don't listen to people who having the problem, or they are not solving the exact problem of the people. So one thing, it should be market fit. Second thing, they have to execute at the right time. The product should be market fit. That is one of the biggest problem most of the startups fail, because in the world most of the startups, they are failing just because, not because, it's not because their product is not good or not, nothing like that, but because it's not market fit, because they don't listen to the people, or they don't solve any problem of the people. So the product should be market fit. And second thing, they should execute at the right time. For example, the video conferencing app Zoom, they introduce in the market at the exact time, at the time of COVID. So it should be, every product, they have to execute at the right time. Again, for marketing is another headache. Most of the startup founders, they don't know. They think they build everything. They solve the problem, but they don't know how to reach into the people. So marketing is another big skill they should have, and which costs a lot of money, and you need to have backup money for that.
For sure. I will say the two questions. One is a point you raised that I really agree with, is understanding what your customer's pain is, where they need, what their needs are, and their requirements, their drive, like what is giving them the most friction to get to the solution. I'm going to start with that one. How do you get that information from as close to the source as possible?
Yeah, I always take feedback from my customers. I always check support tickets. I always go through emails. Even if I don't reply, I have the team to reply, or I have the team to take over. But still, when I get a chance or when I get free, I always go through the support tickets and I check how my team give the reply, or I check what is the problem customer rise. So that is one of the biggest feedback I get. Real life problem I get. Yeah.
Makes sense. Do you have dedicated product management people thinking about product features, or is this more of an engineering role? How do you think about the product management role?
We do have, but that is, we keep on improving. We need best of the best talented people in the product management team. They should have just like you said, they should have the logical thinking skill. So when a customer raises any problem, they should analyze it. Is it a one customer problem, or is it a generalized problem? If it is a single problem, they have to keep it on pending list, or they should hold it. But they should know, if it is a generalized problem, we have to implement it right away.
I can't agree more. I think that is such a key role, not just because I've recently become officially in that role. That's something I've been doing most of my career, but now that I'm officially a PM, that's a positive. But the bit that I've seen in other product managers and other people in the role, whether they have the title or not, is this notion of empathy. They have empathy for their users and the folks that are experiencing your product. How do you cultivate that spirit of empathy with your team?
I always stay close with the team. I always talk to them. Just like I said before, I don't make any barrier in between. There is no wall. They are free to call me anytime. I always tell them, call me anytime, 24/7. Doesn't matter I'm sleeping or I'm awake or I'm in my private space or anything. Doesn't matter. Call me anytime. Even a fresh newly joined person, he have the right to call me or to approach me anytime. So that is what I keep the door open anytime. So I keep the personal connection with them.
Sounds terrific. I think the ability to reach out. I know in past lives I've had very good relationships for the small companies that I work with. That was a big positive. You can make your input was always valued. Your experience was genuinely could direct a change in the product this way or that. At some point, when do you think the founder of the company should take maybe a little bit more hands off and not necessarily be involved in every step along the way? When do you think that should start to?
Yeah, that is like, it's not a stepping back, but it's like you delegating. Because, in the initial stage, I told I was wearing white hat, black hat, green hat, yellow hat, everything. But now I took the yellow hat and I assigned to someone. I mean, I delegate it. But at the same, then I get the new hat on my head. Maybe it's a red hat. So it's like, when you have right people in the team, you have to hand over it and you have to put a new hat. So you never can step back, but you can keep on delegating, decentralizing,
and distributing the responsibility and making sure that you're holding the rest of the teams accountable in that regard. I like that idea. I know I've been in financial services for many years myself, and I've had my fair share of surprises. And you've been doing this for some time now. What are some of the inefficiencies in the global financial markets that still surprise you today?
I should say the speed. It's still very slow. Very slow means very slow. I mean, in international remittance or even in the domestic rail in the US, it's slow. So I'm very much unhappy with that, and that is what I am on a solve. I am targeting real-time money movement worldwide, globally.
Do you think there's intentional friction placed by incumbents to give them the opportunity for, let's say, as a bank, as an intermediary, before it actually reaches the customer, to hold your cash for longer and invest it so that they're intentionally creating that duration?
Not could be intentional, but it could be because of the compliance, because of the AML policy. But that was in the old time. Right now we have a lot of tools. We have AI tools. We have a lot of advanced tools available. We can vet the customer right away at the time of onboarding, and we can vet every transaction at the right time. I mean, when the transaction initiate. So we know if the transaction is legitimate or not. We don't have to hold them.
And while that is true for PayWINT, that might not be true with your corresponding banks.
Correct. We are training them. I mean, we are showing them and we are trying to teach them. So I'm sure one day we will be able to make them come in our way, because that is how every unicorn company is built. Especially if you take Uber, they change the world above the law, above the legal restrictions. They change everything, because that is what we needed in the world. Because law or regulations are created once upon a time when the technology was in the early stage, but now the technology advanced, so the law and regulations have to come up.
Yeah, I do think what I'm really liking about your story that I keep hearing again and again is you're making this push for efficiency and for speed and as the key driver.
Right. Correct. Yeah, because that is what I see the problem of small medium business people facing today. We are not really targeting big enterprises because they are in the sky. But these small medium people are in the trouble. I mean, they are facing all the problem. So we are helping them to solve their issues.
And frankly, that's a really good differentiation from a PayPal or from a Stripe, in that your target market is well defined. They're a bit more utility at scale. Your focus is more targeted towards the SMB market space, the smaller market space, and honed, I would assume, for that to that end. Yes?
Correct. Yeah. Because, when we built PayWINT in the initial stage, because, my first startup was failed and second one also failed. Then I came to know how to build it. Then I made a clear GTM go-to-market strategy at the very beginning stage itself. So now we are implementing that GTM strategy. It is clearly on SMBs, small medium businesses.
So again, narrowing that focus down and making sure it fits. And I guess this goes to my next question, which is, when you start thinking about new opportunities, new investments, whether it's building something you're going to build or new markets, whatnot, what are some of the factors that matter most to you?
I should say, you mean like when I build something new, right? Again, it should be problem solving. And if I get a chance, I will stick on financial sector only, because that's what I see most problems still happening there. So I will keep on finding out problems in the financial sector or financial technology space. That will be my first priority.
I was thinking more within the space, right? So, for example, and if you're dealing with end currencies, right? There's so many currencies, in effect. And then you mentioned that you do crypto, you cover crypto as well. But there's constantly new coins emerging and new opportunities to explore, different stable coins or dollar coins or whatnot. I would see those as potential. That might be one example of a new opportunity to invest in. What is your thought process around how do you decide, is this something we should or shouldn't invest in?
Yeah, because we are in a 2026 now, and it's a fast moving world, especially communication or data transaction is faster than light. It's in a lightning speed.
For sure.
But yeah, so we also have to move in the same speed. Otherwise, we're gonna be dead. I mean, we're gonna be like, a lot of companies, I don't want to mention any company name, but those companies who didn't adapt the technology, they are dead or they lose the business. So anything coming in the market or anything new in the industry, we should be able to adapt it. There is no point if we are hesitate on that, because because the technology will eat the world, so we have to adapt it.
Yeah, there are quite a few people who don't think that's always a good idea, but like it or not, though, yeah, like it or not, it's there. What would you say in terms of your growth? What were some of the steps you've taken that you've learned that money can't buy? For example, talk about education and the like. There are lessons we learn in our lives that money can't necessarily teach you. What would be some of those examples?
I should say the knowledge, because when you start anything new or something new, or when you start a startup, when you launch it, you should have the knowledge coming to the product or problem solving, or about the market, about the compliance, about the regulations, about the industry, about the cost, about the revenue, about how you want to make money, about fundraising. So knowledge. Without knowledge, you cannot build anything. Doesn't matter you have $1 billion in your bank account, but still without knowledge, you cannot build anything.
That is the biggest differentiator we have as humans, is the ability to learn and to pass our education to our children and to society at large. I can't agree with you more. Is there one specific, if I could pull on a thread, is there one specific lesson that you learned as a founder that you'd say, I want to have this as my biggest lesson learned as a founder?
I should say, don't trust anybody, because...
Well, that's a very spicy take. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, because, everybody have a lot of, life teach you a lot of lessons, right? You trust someone and you do something hard day or night, 24/7. And at the end of the day, you lose everything, and someone take everything from your pocket and they run, leaving you zero. So, I don't want to, from my experience.
It sounds like there's a story in there that I understand might be a bit sensitive, which we don't need to explore, but it sounds like maybe it'd be good counsel to build defenses sometimes to protect your assets in the event that someone may be able to overstretch their bounds.
In other sense, it's good, because that will give you the power to fight in the market. That will give you an insight that you have to build something. That will give you a power to compete.
Drive.
So, a drive. So I tell you, don't trust anybody unless you have a written contract. Yeah, because words have no power. You can change your word anytime.
I see. Yeah. See, it sounds like there's something behind that we can talk about another time. Right. So if you were starting your company, or let's say you're not starting the company per se, if you were starting from scratch all over again, would you build in financial services again, or would you consider a different industry? And if so, what would it be and why?
I should say I will be in financial industry, because I enjoy it, because it's just like we say, it's highly regulated, highly compliance specific, KYC, KYB, KYT, AML policies, and a lot of complexity and complications there. But that is what keep me engaged. That's what make me happy, because I'm fighting. I'm not just swimming in a smooth river, but I'm swimming in a, what do you call? I'm swimming in a
Choppy
highly,
water.
right. So that give me an energy inside every morning. I have the mission to do something.
Where do
Right.
you think that drive comes from?
Like, when you build something and you see the result, people using it, and people keep on using, you have the recurrent customers, they keep on coming back, and they come in your support ticket or chat service and instant communications, and your team give the reply, and you see the result instantly in front of you, which gives you, it's not about your revenue, but it's about the solution skill you generated. So that's a big motivation for ourselves.
I was wondering if there was something maybe more personal, like a particular parent's guidance or family member or other experience on those lines.
Yeah, but a motivation I make myself.
You drive
I'm a
yourself.
person, I have to make my own motivations, right? I don't depend on anybody for that.
Understood. Yeah. Oh, and that is the founder's blessing and curse sometimes, I think.
Yeah, but of course, my mom blessed me always with my ventures, my business and all. My mom stay with me. So
amazing.
That is one of the best blessing I have.
Sure. No, absolutely. As someone who I lost my mom at a very young age, I can appreciate the power of having a parent support, particularly mom. Yeah.
I'm sorry for that.
Thank you. No, it's been a very long time. Yes. I was a young man in undergraduate school, but I appreciate it. Last question, if I could.
Sure.
If you could tell me what advice, like let's say you can go back in time and say, give yourself advice. What advice would you give to a younger Dr. Saheer?
To the doctors or to entrepreneurs?
No, to yourself. If you could go
to
back.
Myself, okay.
Yeah, if you were to be able to give yourself like 20 years back, 30, however far back you want to go, say, this is the lesson I learned, or this is the thing you should consider.
I will teach myself that to be more careful in the business. I will teach myself don't trust anybody in business. I will teach myself money. When you make money, you will have people around you to eat your money. And at a point when you are not bothered about your business or your money, they will eat everything. And they will trash you.
I'm so sorry. That sounds very difficult.
That is one of the best lesson I will teach myself. But again, to be honest, I tell you what, I'm happy because of those all strain and stress and problems. I get the strength. I get the power. I'm more powerful now than before.
There's a saying from, it was a movie. I remember now. Conan the Barbarian, of all things. Arnold Schwarzenegger was in a movie many, many years ago. And the line was, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
That's true. That's true. There should be some fire to make you hot.
Yeah, seems that way. Well, Dr. Saheer, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sharing your insights and your thoughts and your experience with us. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure my guests are going to be very excited to hear our podcast. So thank you
so much, Tom. It was really wonderful to talk to you, especially like a senior and experienced, and you have you are really experienced in fintech also. And you took a lot of things out of my mind. I was not able to, I was not ready to to talk like this, but you took everything out of my mind.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it was a joy speaking with you. It was nice to get to know you as
so
well,
much.
and look forward to our next conversation.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tom. Bye.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Castriota, and welcome back to the Higher Ground podcast. Whether you're grinding through yet another job application, navigating a tough work environment, or just trying to level up your career, you've found your show. Each episode, I sit down with guests ranging from the C-suite to folks just starting out in their career for honest, unfiltered conversations about interviewing, managing, and everything in between. No corporate spin, no polished PR answers, just real conversations, real stories from people who've been there. This is season 2, and I'm so glad you're here for it. A quick note, all opinions are our own and don't represent any current or past employers. And if this sounds like your kind of show, then please hit like and subscribe. And once again, thank you for joining us.